Hello and welcome. It is a Wednesday night, and as you know, that can only mean one thing, and that is that if you're on All for United WFC, it is Fans Forum night. It's that moment where we get to talk about anything we feel like talking about. It's that moment where I annoy you for another hour, but the plus side is you get to hear a lot less of me and a lot more of these lovely people who've joined us this evening. And what a crack panel we have today. Crack, C-R-A-C-K panel that we have today. We've got Alex and we've got Grace. Lovely to have you both gracing our screens once again. And of course, Andrew and Gareth, which is rather lovely too. Andrew, fresh from being on the men's channel yesterday as well. So very much having an All for United week there, aren't you, pal? Right. Without further ado, you've all seen it. And if you haven't already seen it, then you must be blind because it was up just a minute ago. If you are blind, sorry about that. Perhaps we need to work on audio description so that you've got a clue what's going on. Who knows? I'll have a chat with Connor. He's the boss. Anyway, we'll move on. And from that, we'll start talking about the joys of Marc Skinner because he's still the name in everybody's mouth as to what he's doing. So the idea is about Lucia Garcia. That's who we kind of wanted to start talking about. So she was, for me, player of the match at the weekend. Alex, would you agree with that? Do you think that the match changed when Lucia came on, or do you think we still would have gone on to do that with Katie having scored her penalty already?
No, I think she made a massive impact. You can tell that when she comes off the bench, she's raring to go, and she's like a super sub. She just comes out. She's trying to prove herself that she deserves that spot. I don't think we'd have scored that many goals if she hadn't have come on.
Fair enough. And what do you think it was about her play that was so mesmerising, really? Because she did just have an attacking thrust that, in fairness, Nikita Paris didn't quite have on that right-hand side to begin with.
She just fights for it a lot more, and she opens up the play. She knows where the defence is, and she splits them, and she makes them runs that are... And yet, at the match, I don't think Nikita, she didn't have a head in it for me. There wasn't that... I think usually she comes on as a sub and she's trying to prove herself, but because she was in the starting lineup, I don't think she had that in her to try and prove that she needed to be on the pitch.
Fair enough. Andrew, what about you? Were you at that game?
Yeah, I was in the J stand. So yeah, when I know he got 1-0 up from Zelen's penalty, but when Garcia came on, I did feel like she changed the game completely, because also it freed up Ella Toone a bit, because I felt like first half she was a bit all over the place and like trying to do everything, whereas Garcia coming on, you know, she like brought the attack and energy, like Skinner said as well. And I think from what I read, they had a meeting in the midweek, because after the performance against Lewis in the FA Cup, it wasn't a best performance. So they went, obviously talked about the game and what she could do better as well. But I think, yeah, just quality from Lucia Garcia as well. And I just think she's pushing for, you know, that starting place. But it's just like we've got that many players in the attacking positions. I'd say it's a good headache for Skinner to have, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, Sarah's already straight in with the questions. You know, you people just steal my questions all the time. You don't really need me. I could probably just throw these things up and stay quiet. But we are going to get to that, Sarah. Absolutely. Is Garcia a super sub or a starter? And we'll come to Gareth on that in a second. I just want to grab Grace's thoughts on Garcia as well. What's your thoughts on how she's performed this season?
I think, as both said previously, I think she added so much more to that game. The attacking flowed a lot more, and her connection with Honor is really good. So I think she just offers a lot more than what Nikita Paris does. Don't get me wrong, I do like Paris, but I do think Garcia works better in the role that she's been playing. You know, like they've said, Toone was freed up a lot more, and the whole attack, I feel like, just flowed a lot better when Garcia came on.
And for you, do you think she's earned a start based on the performances she's given when she's come on?
Yeah, I think so. You know, if we look at that position, I think Paris has done well at times, but I think Garcia's performance over the last couple weeks has been very good, and I think she does deserve that starting place over Paris.
Okay. So, I mean, Gareth, I know you, obviously with your role that you have within women's football, you can't just drop everything on a match day and go, we're off to go and watch the footy. But from what you have seen, obviously watching through the telly box, which is a rather wonderful invention, what have you made of Lucia Garcia, and what would you do with this sort of situation that Skinner has with making these choices?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tricky because she's definitely been good to coming on and has played that role off the bench really well and has kind of played really well. So there's definitely an argument that can be made for her kind of getting that start and kind of reversing the role that her and Paris are playing at the moment. But I'd also kind of say that, yeah, I mean, she's earned it, so let's have a crack and let's see what happens. But I would still be mindful that playing against a team that's fresh from kickoff it's not quite as easy to kind of stretch the defense and create those gaps and exploit those spaces because the defenders all got completely fresh legs. Like they're ready, they're raring to go. Everyone's kind of got it in the tank. Whereas if you're coming off the bench after, sort of 50, 60 minutes, when defenders have some tired legs, it's going to be easier to stretch the defense, and it might be easier for particularly an attacking wide player to make an impact. So, yeah, I think we've seen kind of Paris make an impact off the bench and stuff previously. We've seen kind of Risa do put in some great performances as well. So I think they've definitely earned the right to kind of want to start. But I also think that starting is a very different role to kind of coming off that bench, because coming off the bench you are the fresh legs and you've got that energy, and that it gives you an advantage over the defenders. So hopefully she can start games and can kind of have a similar impact, and can be scoring goals in the 25th minute rather than the 65th minute. But yeah, that's kind of just the one thing that I would be mindful of. I definitely think she deserves a crack, but it may be the case that against fresher defenders who are up for it, where they're going to be more compact, they're going to be more, and they'll know it's quite different, isn't it? So, yeah, I think she's absolutely earned that start, but it may be less impactful from the first minute compared to coming on in the 60th.
I mean, it's a fair point to make. When you start a game, as you just said, it's very much then about your skill levels. It's whether or not your skill levels are going to be any better, and whether you've got that mental ability to be able to bamboozle the defender and get past them. Absolutely fair point. But equally, it's a lot easier, as you say, when time goes on to then come on and run that little bit more ragged, where also mentally they've been having to switch on for an hour potentially at that point. So good points. And Sarah has put here, if anyone's going to start, there is someone, and we all know who it is. And you're absolutely right. We do all know who it is. The problem is that Grace Clinton is currently a Bristol City player. So we can't have her at the moment, can we? It's a real shame. But who knows? Maybe one day. Maybe one day she can come in and start. Alex, I want you to take up TJ's. I'm joking, Sarah. We'll come back to that. But I want to pick up TJ's point very quickly here, because Alex, he'd be concerned to bench Tooney just to reward another player, thinking about her assist to Garcia. And it was good. Tooney's game at the weekend at Old Trafford, probably her best performance of 2023. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So in that,
what
TJ's put here, do you think that's a position now, we're in a position where we could see a resurgence from Tooney, and therefore we should be giving her that chance to do what we know she can do? Or do you think that actually she's lucky, really, that she started at Old Trafford?
No, I think Tooney's the one that he obviously relies on, and he knows that she can play. I think Garcia's just a super sub. I rate her, and I do think she should get a chance as a start. But like Gareth said, like coming on at 60 minutes, she comes on. She's got the fresh legs to everyone. I think that's just where she thrives.
Fair points, one and all. And Andrew, would you go along with that as well for Tooney? Because it's not been our greatest year so far in 2023. It's been very patchy form. But yet we're still doing really well with her. Obviously Skinner's seeing something within what Ella's doing in order to be able to have her playing over someone like Vilde Risa. There you go, Sarah. I threw it in there for you. Who you could argue is that start.
Yeah, I'm just thinking on Tunis. I think across the whole season, it's been up and down for her. And I mean, like Saturday at Old Trafford, I felt like she got better as the game went on, especially when Garcia came on as well. I think Tunis said after the game, United made it made it frustrating for themselves. So was keeping a lot of the ball, but we just weren't attacking quickly enough. So I think when Garcia came on, it sort of, that freedom was there. So I'd say Garcia, with her pressing and the way she moves the ball around, it was like it freed Tooney up a bit more as well. And just think Tooney, she might not be having sometimes the best of games, but then she could, just pick out a pass or a cross or even score a goal, and it changes the game for us. So let's say with Tooney, she's overall, say it's been up and down, but say I would stick with her in the side. I say that squad is, that pretty much that first 11 is pretty much settled as it is, with like a few players being rotated around. So I would keep it the same as it is.
Fair point. Now, brief humour break here for Mr. John Fry, because he's mentioned many times that he's getting a bit worried because he feels like he's getting on my wavelength. And you put here, thought he was going to suggest Baggers to start. That was the one that went in my head straight away, but I thought that's a bit harsh because
I was going to say she nearly came on Saturday as well.
So she nearly did. So I nearly went that one, but I pushed that to the side and went for Grace Clinton. Grace, I need to ask you about this one because some great points being put here. I think Gabriella's made a great point. So it's giving me Tooney and Russo Euros vibes. Kirby and Ellen White didn't necessarily do anything wrong, and we weren't getting annihilated. But the change was so effective. Whereas some guy called Connor, we don't see him in the chat very often, he's put Toon and VBR can play together. It's a myth, he says, that they can't. Name a myth, Connor, would be the next thing I would say to you. See if it's as good as your movie knowledge. But Vilde Risa has played 6 and 8 positions for most of her career. He does point out he still likes Garcia and VBR. What would you do, Grace? What would you do? Because Vilde has potentially earned a start. Garcia's potentially earned a start. We're now hitting a point where before it was quite easy to say, well, actually, have they done anything? They've been given a little bit of time and they've grabbed it. So what would you do? Let's pretend you're Marc Skinner if you need to. How do you fix this conundrum?
I think there's no real fix here because the issue is it's who do you drop? It's not a case of do they deserve to start, because a lot of players do. I think it's just a case of who do you drop in that case. I think Zellam's done really well. I don't think she gets enough plaudits at times because people sort of look past her, but I think she's done really well recently. Hayley Ladd as well, and Toon again. So I don't think it's a case of should they start. I think it's who do we drop for those players. Risa's done really well, but then again, so's Toon, so's Zellam. So who do you drop in that case? You could bring her on as a sub again, but which is something that I'd like to see. Obviously, she's not had a lot of time in the WSL this season, and when she has played in the cup game, she has done really well. But I think it's just who do you drop for players like her?
Fair point. Again, very, very good, very concise points. I'm not used to this. This is wonderful. It's because I haven't got Stu or someone like that on the show at the minute. I'm kind of thinking I've got time. Listen, this is really good. And I'm going to go to you, Gareth, on this one because it's John who just put this one. Big old Johnny K. Big up, sunshine. He's put, my thoughts are that for a team to be consistent, a manager should know his best 11. Skinner's faced criticism for his lack of rotation, but if you play a consistent 11, you're more likely to do well. And that's proven at the moment. We can't argue with that because we are doing well. We are near, top of the table, FA Cup semi-final, all of that sort of stuff. But equally, you've got players that are knocking on the door, if not physically, then metaphorically, wanting to play in the team. Now, you're part of a football team. You've got girls there who are wanting to play football, girls that aren't playing football, girls that are annoyed because other people didn't pick to play football. We've both been there. We've both seen it. I'm sure everybody else in the panel has as well. And you see it. You see the annoyance in their faces when they're not getting chosen to play football and they feel like they should have been given an opportunity. What would you do? Because, again, we're here. John Commode's made a perfect point, and it is working. But there are players that have a claim. We'd like to hear you. Speak louder.
Yeah, sorry, I just unmute myself. Yeah, I think what we kind of have said is that it's not any one individual or a group of 11 players that wins a title, that wins a competition. It's the squad that contributes to it, and whether your contribution is 25 minutes off the bench and scoring scoring 2 goals that puts a game to bed and absolutely make sure you guarantee those 3 points, or whether that role is starting, it's an important role, and everybody has a role to play. And I think it's natural for there to be favourites for any manager that does any job ever. They're going to have their favourites. So I think there's always going to be a preferred 11. Whether that preferred 11 is the same for every single person that's in the stands, it's never going to be. It's always going to be people that have an opinion, that think that certain players should get certain minutes. And to a certain extent, I think that if it's working, why change it? Don't change something that's currently working. But then, there is the argument to be made for that certain players have come off the bench and have done what has been asked of them. So should they be rewarded with starts or minutes? But also, we're not kind of privy to conversations that happen behind the scenes. It may well be the case that these players are not necessarily happy to be starting on the bench, but are kind of comfortable in that role. And these are professionals, and I would expect them to behave as such. So if you're told that what your current role within the team is to come on for the last 30 minutes when the defense is tired and really stretch them and really make lots of space, and or to come on and exploit that midfield with tired legs and dominate that midfield battle and really run teams into the ground for the last half an hour, then you're still playing an important role. And I think that's what professionals will understand. I think that's what professionals will be able to accept. I'm not saying that Risa or Garcia or any other players that are kind of playing on the bench are happy to be there, but I'm sure that they will understand their role. And maybe next year, after a pre-season, when things there's time to kind of implement change, their roles will be different. I think that I think the two that kind of have the big shout to get an increased minute or kind of slightly different role are Risa and Garcia. I know some people kind of mentioned Tunkara as well, but I think with the defence at the moment, the way it is, I wouldn't change it too much. I think more so than any other position, I think the defence should be a relatively stable unit, because particularly with your 2 centre-halves and your goalkeeper, there needs to be that complete understanding, complete trust between them. And I think changing that dynamic can be tricky unless you really have to. But yeah, no, I think there can definitely be some kind of changes in the team. But I agree with John. I think the manager knows their best 11, whether it's the absolute best from 1 to 11, potentially not, but it's the 11 that is set up the best to do what he wants to do. And I think that's important as well, is every manager will have a game plan, and it's about picking the 11 players to start to do that. And that game plan can obviously change as the 90 minutes goes on. You're probably not there's not many teams that will have their best 11 players playing, but it's the players that can go out there and can do the job. And I think that's what is happening at the moment with United. Yeah, potentially there could be some more rotation, because what you don't want to do is, as fixture congestion clocks up, you don't want players to kind of get hurt and get injured. But there's no midweek Conti Cup games anymore. We've not got any European games at the moment, so these are professional footballers. They should all be fit enough to play 1 game a week. So I don't think necessarily need the rotation for that. But yeah, I mean, reward them with starts, see how it goes, and we can revert if necessary. But I think what you can guarantee is that if we do make those changes and we do start them both, on Sunday, and they both have absolute shockers, and then people will be going, well, why have we changed it? So I think sometimes it's impossible to keep everybody happy, but as long as we're winning, that's what will keep me happy.
Points all the way through there. Well done. But I have to throw this one out there now because Charlie has gone and got herself involved. She does that. She tells she's a maths teacher because an English teacher would not accept that as a start to a sentence, would they? But Giz, your starting 11 panel. So, I fingers crossed now this all works because if it doesn't, then Connor's going to have my guts for garters. Oh my goodness, I've never done that before. That's different. I've often had my computer split into two sides. It's never done it where it's gone into four. That was very strange, and I hope that never happens again. Right, here we go. So I'm going to try and share my screen. Let's see if it works. Please, God, that would be lovely. You should now be able to see this window. Can you see it? Yes, you can. I can see that. Good. I'm going to assume that everybody in this room is going to agree with that back five.
Yeah.
Which is Earps in goal, Blundell,
Yeah.
Turk, MLT, and Honor. I'm assuming that we're all going to go along with the vibes that Mannion's not fit yet. Are there any people that would argue with Mayer being in that position and those five? Good, didn't think so. So I figured this was only going to be a half a team question. Because it then really leads into the front six, really. And what I find interesting is what they're talking about, what they seem to be talking about, is the potential to have two playing up here. So that could be Vilde and Tooney, with either Zellum or Ladd playing in that position just in front of the back four. Which really is it's still a 4-3-3, just slightly different, slightly more attacking, you might say. So whereabouts would we be with that? Would we all say Galton sitting here on the left-hand side? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The numbers, the way you've got your numbers is hurting my eyes at the moment. I know it's not that deep, but having a number 9 sitting in as a holding midfielder is
I could make it
stressful. Don't do that. Don't put the number 2 up front.
Yeah, let's throw. There you go.
Like when Edgar Davids went to Barnet, and gave himself the number 1 shirt playing outfield.
There you go. So Earps is going to play number 10 in goal. So who's going to take the number 1 shirt up the front? This is the bit where Gareth wishes he hadn't said anything. This was entirely unplanned. So we're literally making go with this as we are making the most of it we can. So Galton out on the left. The question seems to be about those 5. Who fits in the right midfield? Who fits in up front? Who fits in those midfield 3? So Alex, where would you go with it? It's the midfield 3 that everybody cares about. Which 3 people would you choose in that midfield?
I'd put your number. It's the numbers. It's throwing it. I'd put Zellum as number 9.
Let me see if I can help you out because I can see where it's upset. So we pop him over there. That goes there.
Barry the boss says remove Charlie's comment because poor Grace is being hidden.
Oh, so I can't see that screen. Un momente. Hello, Grace. How you doing? I know Grace there, didn't you? All is good. So, yes, we were saying. So you would be putting Zellum in the spot where I've just put Galton, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what?
And then I'd put Toon number 9.
Toon number 9?
Yeah. And then Ladd
like number 5, isn't it? Number 9. And who are you putting in the 8?
Ladd.
So are you saying you're happier with this?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Andrew, how would you change that?
I wouldn't change that. I'd keep it Ladd and Zellum obviously Zellum can go a bit more further forward, which she does in games. She joins more of the, so she just sits a bit behind Tony, but she will come back and help on the defensive side as well with Hayley Ladd as well. But
okay,
I'm going to say Hayley Ladd's like the sitting defensive midfielder, so she will just sit there and you know counter any attack that's coming from the opposition and try and cut out those passes that from the opposition, and get the attack moving again. So yeah. Zellum and Ladd, so sort of together, but Zellum a bit further forward, and Tooney I just have behind Russo, so I wouldn't, I'd keep it like that.
Okay, fair point. So, what about the rest of you? What would you do? Grace, would you change any of that?
No, I'd keep that the same. I think the midfield's very balanced. I think it depends what team as well, because I think some games you could maybe experiment and just have Ladd sitting deep and then maybe have Risa in the Zellum position. But I think against the majority of teams in the WSL, I'd stick with that balanced midfield.
Okay, Gaza?
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I think it comes down to that question, doesn't it? What do we do with Risa and who would drop out? I guess if we were going to make that change, it would be Zellum for me that would drop out. But yeah, I think that's a good midfield. I think it depends what you want to do. I think if you want to kind of be a bit more secure at the back, go with Zellum. And if you want to kind of have somebody there that two midfielders that can kind of stretch defenses and stuff, then maybe bring Risa in. But yeah, if I get off the fence, I agree with what everyone else has said.
Fair enough. So then that really does just leave this sort of right hand side. I'm assuming that everyone would want Russo to be starting up top. So it really does then just leave the 7 position for the purposes of today. The old Beckham and Ronaldo slot. Whereabouts? Who? Sorry, are we putting in that position? Alex, one name. Who's going there?
Paris.
Andrew Wall.
This is a tough one. Garcia. I'll put Garcia there.
Gaza.
Paris.
Oh, Grace.
Purely for the don't change something. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And we don't seem to be broken at the moment.
Grace.
Garcia as well.
It means you've got a deciding vote, Barry.
Yeah. And that's where we end that particular picture. So there we go. I'm not doing that. But this is what I mean. Coward. This is what I find so fascinating about this whole discussion. Because the whole discussion, we've been talking about, could Garcia play? Should she be playing? Should Vilde Risa play? And the irony is that we have effectively picked the same side that Marc Skinner has picked every single time. And we've all sat there. We're all sensible people who have decent opinions about football, different opinions as well. We don't all agree on the same stuff. But yet here we are. And we're having an argument going, well, should we play Garcia or should we play Paris? Do we stick with what's worked so far and got us to where we are? Or do we put somebody new in? Alex, why is it that you would go with the choice you made, which I think was Garcia?
Paris mine. But yeah, it was Paris. But I'm with, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If we're winning games, I don't see why there's a big debate. Like, I understand keeping everyone happy and keeping the team together, and that way you don't lose players when it comes to transfer. But if we're winning games, what does it matter?
Well, I would agree with that. If Connor was sat here and say they need to have minutes in their legs, they need to be performing, they need to be ready to play at any moment because they could come in at any second. And Andrew, is that the reason why you would have picked Garcia?
So I was going between 3 players, Garcia, Paris and Martha Thomas. And I was like, the impact that Garcia made at Old Trafford in the second half, I just thought, yeah, you've pushed enough for, to warrant a start. And I'm just thinking, I could see her starting at the weekend against Brighton away. I think that'd be like a perfect game for her. And I just think, I want to see her get a few more starts, because I say we've got a big run coming up coming towards the end of the season, so we're going to need every player on the pitch. So rotation is going to be key as well. But I say it was such a difficult one for me. That's why I was going, which player do I choose? But I say I'm not Marc Skinner, so he has that choice. He's got to keep them all happy, which in some ways he is all season. I just think, like with the United men's side, Ten Hag has been consistent through his team as well, and those players that have been coming on, getting minutes here and there, they've still been happy. So I think Skinner and Ten Hag have been similar in many ways this season with their squad selection as well.
I think, sorry, just to jump in and kind of follow up with that, I think we did see, particularly kind of against Liverpool and Arsenal for the men's side, that the lack of rotation caught up with us. But I think to people making that comparison wasn't quite as valid as it could be, because the men were playing Thursday, Sunday every week.
3 games a week,
Yeah, so I think if we were kind of playing, midweek games followed by a weekend game followed by a midweek game and so on, then there would be bigger calls for rotation. But I think playing one game a week, like I said, they're professional footballers, they're training every day, they should be fit enough, and United should have the backroom staff and the physiotherapists and nutritionists, etc., available to ensure that players can do that. I think sometimes I've seen the two linked and go, well, look, it didn't work for the men's team because of A, B, and C. But I think, if you trust your players, then go with it, stick with them.
Charlie weren't happy with us because we didn't even mention big Rachel Williams, who we all adore.
She's more of an impact player. As of Reading away proved.
No shout. John Fry, you're going to have to explain this a bit more. You said you mentioned this a few weeks ago with the midfield formation, and you slated me for it as I said how England play at the moment, and you said it's not England, it's United. Well, I'll stand by that comment. It's not England, it is United, and we're not playing for England. But I don't know which bit in particular in the midfield are you talking about, because I've done so many things in the last 5 minutes that my poor head's just trying to catch up to normality. That was such a break from what I was expecting to do. I hid poor Grace for about 10 minutes. She's hide behind the fence. And I know what that's like being as short as I am. So, if you could just let me know what it is exactly that I slated you for there that you think I've agreed with here, that would be smashing. But Charlie's apparently agreed with Connor, which has caused all manner of problems. So I suppose really, not so many things here, so many things I don't know what to go with. But I think really where we are with this conversation before we really start to move on is, why is it, do you think, that Marc Skinner isn't making these choices to bring people on that so many people are clamouring for? I mean, you're going to get this. You get this in all the big places. There's people that like David De Gea, people that don't like David De Gea, people that like Harry Maguire, people that don't like Harry Maguire, people that think that Weghorst is such a superb player and brings such an amazing thing to the team, and people like me who are starting to think that I could do the same job. That sort of thing. Obviously not the same height, obviously. Apart from that. So there's lots of different opinions in football, and you're going to get those. And is it just the size of the fan base and the size of the club at the moment? Is that what makes it that us fans feel like our opinion is the most important one, and therefore if the manager's disagreeing with us, then effectively we're going to have to sack the manager because how dare you disagree with us fans? What is it? Why is it that we're in this situation where Marc Skinner's choices are so under fire, even though we're top of the table and are in the FA Cup semi-final? Alex?
I think people are getting greedy now. At the beginning of the season, we were aiming for just top 3. And I think because we've done so well and we're at the top, everyone now thinks they've got a voice in it. And I know we all have like our opinions and stuff, but if he starts listening to every single thing everyone's kicking off about online and he does everything, are we really going to be in the position that we are at? Like, he knows what he's doing. He's in the job for a reason. Like, I work with kids. I have my opinions, but I'm clueless when it actually comes to who should be in a starting lineup. I have my favourite players, but at the same time, just because Rachel Williams isn't in the starting 11, I'm not going to kick off every 5 minutes. But I don't know. It's just, I feel like we live in a world at the minute where everyone thinks that what their opinion matters, like whatever their opinion is has to happen. Otherwise, everyone needs sacking. And I just think it's a bit ridiculous.
Careful. People are back. You haven't got all their hands up at the minute. Crikey. Andrew, I mean, what is it for you? I mean, there's lots of things being said here. Kaz is mentioning that, West Ham shut us up on the side until Garcia came on. So what can the Champions League side do for us? Everybody's going to have their arguments. And I mean, I still maintain it, John Fry. I mean, 4 people here, I didn't pick these people because they were all going to agree with me on a formation. I deliberately moved the formation into the one everybody asked me to do. And then I ended up going back to the same formation that we've got. I still maintain Zelemlad and Tooney/VBR is the better way to go. But like I say, it's all opinions. It's all good. But Andrew, it's like what has he got to do in order to win, to stop this being a conversation? Because we sit here every week. I sit here every week and have to go, what am I going to talk about on a Wednesday? What is it that United fans are talking about? And every week it's bleeding Skinner. And I'm like, I can't have the same show every week. So we need to start finding some more interesting things to talk about. But it's constantly him and his choices. And it's bizarre.
I was going to say Skinner could probably, this United side could go and win the FA Cup and potentially the Super League. And I think there could still be criticism of Skinner. Oh, he didn't do this right during the season. He should have done that. They could go into next season. I just think sometimes it's just been a bit unfair. Look, the United side is winning. We've only say in the league lost to Chelsea, so it's like Chelsea. I think I said it in one of the shows. Chelsea have just been that level above. We're just nearly there. We just got to get to their level and go beyond it. But just like the fact that he's just kept the side consistent and they've been winning games. So I just think. I trust the manager to pick the squad and out there and go and get all 3 points. He's obviously consulting his coaches. Oh, these are the players I want to pick, and or who's been good in training this week. Who's not been so good, or there's probably those discussions. Oh, do we keep the same side every week? So I just think trust the manager, and like I say, if suddenly it didn't start working out, then questions will be asked of him. But at the moment, we're winning, so why we can? I don't know why certain people in our fan base want to complain as well. I just think at the start of the season, you probably said, "Oh, we're in a potential title hunt, and could reach the FA Cup final." I think everybody had, bit their hands off, saying, "Oh yeah, I'd take that." But some people sometimes it's not good enough. But let's say we want to be successful, and then go on, even achieve more success. So, like I say, trust the managers, put out the right team and go and get all the points.
I mean, Grace, I've left this one up because John makes a fair point here. Are we too predictable at times? That's the problem. Teams now know who we're going to play. They know what we're going to play. They know the formation we're going to play. And because they know those things, it's easier for them to prepare and to stop us and shut us down. Are we in a situation where the 11 we're choosing, it used to be, like people like Ferguson, Shankly, they picked their teams and it was the same team every week because they knew that their players were better than everybody else's players. Are we necessarily in that position where we've got the best 11 out of everybody in the WSL, that therefore we can just invite people to come and try and shut us down because we know we're going to get there eventually, or not? Because it didn't work against Chelsea, to be fair. It didn't. We had the same sort of team and we're not knocking down that door. Do you think that's a fair point? And do you think Skinner should be addressing that, therefore, and be a little bit less predictable?
I think that's the good thing of having our bench. We do come out with the same 11. I think it's more a case of it's tried and tested rather than being the best starting 11 in the league. I think with the bench, we can pose those threats, like with either if Garcia starts or Paris starts. It doesn't matter because there's a different type of player on the bench. I mean, we didn't even mention the likes of Leon. I think Andrew mentioned Martha Thomas as well. When they come off the bench, same with Williams. It offers a different outlook in our game and in our attacking threat. So I think it's more of a case of it's a tried and tested 11 rather than it being the strongest in the league overall.
Fair point. Jay's put here, if we do achieve the Holy Grail, then we'll have to practice rotation. So why not start now? You say that. I mean, you would hope that the players that would have in on the bench rather would be players that are more likely to be rotated. I'm trying to put this very diplomatically. Players that can be trusted to start games of football consistently and without fail. So who knows? Jay also did put up something. I thought I'd put it up there, but he mentioned about it being like rugby union where you have the same starting 11 and the subs come on after 60 minutes, being like power subs. But I think that's kind of what we've all just said there. It's what you just said there, Grace, which is, you know, they do play, but then you've got that other option on the bench, so you can change things about and you can freshen up the legs, which is, you know, entirely sensible. So yeah, Gareth, last call on this really is going to go to you before we start moving on to the next question, which, let's be brutally honest, is that Marc's going to can't do right for doing wrong, and that's going to happen at any football club. There are people that disagree with decisions that Ten Hag makes. It's going to occur. We get that, and it's not a case of sitting here and going, we're going to shut down this opinion or anything like that. But what is your thoughts on Marc Skinner in that respect? What does he need to do? Is there anything he can do? Or is it just the nature of the beast that there's going to be vociferous people on Twitter on both sides, and you just kind of have to learn to live with the fact that that's how it's going to be now because we're getting bigger?
I think it's very much the latter. I also think that people have been kind of swept up in this kind of wave, and Twitter is very much an echo chamber. You, for anything, whether that's kind of football or whether that's politics or whether that's, you know, whatever, any other sport, you follow people that you agree with and you follow people that kind of validate your own opinions. And when you tweet something and then people kind of agree with you, that reinforces your own opinion that you're right and that your opinion is the correct one. And that's the same for whether people saying that Skinner needs to go or Skinner needs to stay. That's people that are saying, you know, that A is better than B, you know, that whatever you're talking about. So I think it's just the nature of the beast. But I also think that at the start of the season, if you said we're in the title fight come the end of March, and we're in the FA Cup semi-final, and you know we essentially have control over our own destiny when it comes to finishing inside the top three, you'd have taken it, and I would have done, because I'd have said, yeah, third's a great season, third's an absolutely fantastic season. It's one better than last year. It's making that next step up. It's continuing that progress, and I think that's what he needs to do for me is improve. So, you know, the fact that we're in a better position to we are now than we were last season, that's fantastic. The key for me is that we at least get that third place spot. I'm not going to get drawn into to titles or whatever too much yet, because we could win every single game that we have left to play and not win the title. So the title's not in our hands. What is in our hands is finishing in the top three and winning the FA Cup. If we do that, it's an absolutely fantastic season. We yet to win a major trophy. So if he can be the first person to do that for us, then that's incredible.
Fair points. Well made, one and all. Congratulations. We managed to make that topic last 43 minutes, which just goes to show how, I don't want to say divisive, but certainly how spirited, there we go, this particular discussion is. I did have something I was going to put up there, and it's entirely gone, so that's unfortunate. There we go, Joseph. Just wanted to answer this one. The reason we keep on losing to Chelsea is because they know who will be on the pitch for us, no dynamics to the lineups. I'm just going to throw it out there. The reason we keep losing to Chelsea is because they're the best football team in the league, and they're very difficult to beat. I don't think it's got anything to do with predictability. They're just that bleeding good, and it pains me to say it. And Sang's not even here to hear me say that, so unlucky Sang. There we go. So that's job number one done. We had a couple of other things we're going to talk about, and I'm going to start with Gareth on this one because he said he wouldn't be drawn on conversations about the title, but I want to ask that question. Are we still in with a shout of the title? Because I found it weird. Like, even Connor the other day was saying, we've just got to get top three. We've just got to get top three. And I get that. But there were people that wanted Chelsea to beat Manchester City just so that we had that little gap in finishing in top 3. And I was very much like, no, if someone's got to win, I'd rather it was City, because then that's one of Chelsea's games in hand gone. Where do you stand on that? I know you said you're not going to get drawn into it insofar as it's not in our hands, but are we? I mean, I know technically and mathematically we are, but are we still in that race? Or do you agree with what I just said, that Chelsea are too good and we're not? We shouldn't be looking at that.
I think we're definitely in the race. Yeah, for sure. And we're in that race until we're not. It's not in our hands at the moment. You know, we could win every single game, but Chelsea could still win the title. So we're not in control of our destiny, so to speak, in terms of winning the title. But we absolutely still can do it. And yeah, we are still in the title race. It's a 4-way title race. It's really as simple as that. And it's probably the best that the Super League has been in terms of the gap between the top 4. And that's exciting. That's exciting for us as fans to be a part of that. And it's exciting for kind of neutrals as well. Not that, you know, they're going to get drawn into it too much, but there's going to be Liverpool fans are going to want the title to go in a certain way, and Spurs fans aren't going to want Arsenal to win it, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think it's super exciting. I think we definitely are in with a shout of winning it. I think, you know, we've still got Arsenal to play, haven't we? So that's going to be a huge game. That's massive. So yeah, let's go out and let's win these games, and let's put pressure on Chelsea, because, you know, teams can get big results. I always worry whenever I see fixtures and you're kind of looking at those teams that are down in the relegation scrap towards the end of the season. They're always banana skins, because they are fighting for their life, and I don't want to play teams like that around the end of the season. So yeah, you know, let's go out there, let's beat Arsenal, let's beat City, and let's see what we can do. Let's put all that pressure on Chelsea, and let's see how they cope with it. Let's make sure that, you know, we're snapping at their heels, ready for them to make one mistake, and we're there. We're in that gap. So yeah, without wanting to use a City pun, let's make sure we're Balotelli and Aguero, and they're celebrating their title like we were back in 2012.
Well, there we go. I'm sorry if you're not if you're just listening to this rather than watching, but John, you can't say that. Positive vibes only, guys. Positive vibes only. Grace, what do you think? What do you think? Are we going to be in a good situation? Because Colin's talking about he wanted the gap to take some of the pressure off. But I still think I've maintained it since day one. We are still in with a shout at this title, and I'm sticking with it. We're going to win the title this year. What say you?
It's difficult, because I think, as Connor brought up, I was going to mention the Villa game. I think that could be a very, very big game. You know, facing Villa away, they're in very good form at the moment. You know, it is in Chelsea's hands still. They still have that game in hand. We've still got to play City, who haven't lost since those opening 2 games, I believe. So we're not out of the race. I mean, Arsenal aren't either. So I think it's going to be very, very tight. But I do think it's too close to call at the moment. I would like to think we are going to win it, obviously, but I'm not. I don't think we will, but I think we will get top 3. I don't think we'll drop out of it. I think we do have squad depth. I think Arsenal have shown they do struggle with that. They're getting back into form. You know, they play in the Champions League tonight, so they could just be down to one focus in the WSL if they do go out. But yeah, I think we will get top 3, but I'm not too sure on the title.
Fair enough. Connor talks again. I'm going to keep you going to him, Andrew, about finishing second would be better, so that we basically don't have to do the qualifying round. I don't think is basically how that works. We get that position, but I think the reason why I don't really care, and I just want City to win over Chelsea, is that regardless of what happens, Andrew, we're still going to have to win every single one of our games if we want to finish in the top 3, really. We're not in a situation where even that 3-point gap, yes, it takes a bit of the pressure off, but not a lot. It's like, yes, there's one slip up allowed. But don't forget Arsenal behind us at the moment. You know, there's still nobody's talking about them being in fourth position at the moment, and potentially they're the ones that are going to miss out. Whichever way you go, it's going to be irrelevant whether City beat Arsenal beat Chelsea. All of that is just going to be much for muchness if we don't win our big games as well. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I was going to say we've just got to worry about what we do rather than what everybody else is doing. Yes, I do think we're in the title hunt. I think it's going to go down to the wire on the very last day. It could be anybody's, and I just think coming up, we've got a mixed bag of fixtures remaining. I mean, we've got to go away to Brighton on Saturday, and they need the points as well, so they'll be up for a fight. And we've got to, give it all we can. And so we've got Arsenal, City. The one that's just been mentioned, Villa away. I just think that could be, I remember last season when we drew there, and it just all but it was the nail in the coffin, for like the Champions League qualification. So I just hope we can go away to Villa, and just, turn them over. But Villa have been such in fine form, so it's going to be a tricky one. And and plus we've got the FA Cup semi-final clashing between those games as well, and potentially a final as well. So, but yeah, let's say just worry about what we're doing, and then if we win all our games, then we can just look around and see what everybody else has done and see where we've finished at the end of the season. But I'm confident we'll be inside the top three. Yeah, and yes, I would love to win the title, but we'll see come the 27th of May.
Well, I'm feeling fairly confident about it as well. And the idea that we're going to go to Liverpool on the last game of the season, on a Saturday, no less, which feels really weird because most of these games are on a Sunday. But yes, Alex, this point here, TJ would be quite happy if the last day determines it. I'm not sure my nerves could take it. I've had far too many last day disappointments. I'm thinking United at West Ham that time. We needed the point and we couldn't even get them. What do you reckon? Would you be quite happy if on the last day we're still fighting for the top three?
No, not a chance. I'm confident we're going to make top three, and I think we'd be stupid not to fight for the title. Don't think that's probably going to happen, but I'm still hopeful. But I wouldn't want it to come down to the last day. I don't think I'd be able to watch. Not a chance.
He's going for it. The fact it's against Liverpool has just whet his appetite even more. He's positively raving about it now. So there we go. It's going to be very, very, very interesting. And Chris, I think you're quite right. The goal difference is going to be quite a thing. Is this about right, Connor? Is this about right, Alex?
That's what Connor's put in? Yeah. Done and dusted, so I don't have to worry.
When do you go to the States?
The 18th of May.
18th of May. So there we go. So it's going to be the week before. So Mark, if you're watching, no faffing about, sunshine. Let's just get it done for Alex. Otherwise, there's problems between you and I. So there we go. Listen, I think whatever happens, it's going to be crazy, this running. And I think this is what, when we start talking about Mark Skinner as well, this is the thing. We are so embroiled at the end of the season. I mean, this time last year, we were just hoping we'd make top three and that we wouldn't have City catch us. And I know it sounds quite similar, but the fact that we're so close to the top as well, that it's actually at this moment still a conversation that we could finish in the top. 10 points better off than last year. In the FA Cup semi-final for the first time in our history, I noticed that Venus Modeste put up there a little bit earlier. We're Man United. We should be winning titles. We should be winning trophies. We're 5 years old. This isn't Manchester United, the men's team. You cannot equate the men's team with the women's teams. The men's team's been established for over 100 years and has had the greatest manager that ever breathed the oxygen of this fair planet in Sir Alex Ferguson, lifted it from the doldrums of desperation and absolute diabolical management. Or still in diabolical management, but in a wonderful position. All of those things have happened. That's not happened here in the women's game. This is a brand new enterprise that had a season in the Championship where they absolutely bossed it and have finished fourth ever since. We are not expected winners, but we are expected to challenge, I think. And this seems to be the big thing. So there we go. Has anyone got any other points you want to make about title hopes or anything like that? Or should we move on to topic number 3? Topic number 3 is then watch as that tumbleweed flies past. No, not just because I asked if anyone's got anything to say. The atmosphere at Old Trafford. Oh my giddy aunt. So there are so many things going on again on Twitter with that. What is happening? Now, we've all been to football matches before. I've been to many of them. You sometimes get the occasional band. If you follow the England team, there'll be bands playing music. It's going to happen. We get all of that. That's fine. You might have a bit of that. But there was all sorts. There was light shows. There's Mary Earps wondering if something's just gone off because there's a great big bit of smoke that she's got to run through. There's people holding their lights up on their mobile phones as if Coldplay have started singing Yellow. I mean, what on earth was that, Andrew? You were there. I mean, was it like anything you've ever experienced before?
It's not something I've experienced before. I know, like before the game, they had like the fire, and I've only ever seen that like that of Molyneux with walls. So I thought I get that, but then it's like second half. It's like the smoke machine blasting every time the United player came out. I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, there's that one picture of Mary Earps, and I think somebody captioned it and said, oh, it's a no from Mary. And I just think, yeah, why have you got a smoke machine? And then suddenly all the mobile lights started appearing. I was like, what's going on here? It's like, I've seen it sometimes at Old Trafford with the men's team. I'm like, as we started singing in J-Stand, you should have come to watch the football. We're not at a Coldplay concert. It's like, come on, it's just, I don't know. It's one of those. I'm just like, I was there to watch the football, not watch mobile lights being, turned on. So, but yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. So, but I don't know whether that's going to be a theme coming in at Old Trafford or even LSV, but I hope not. But just say, stick to the football. That's what we need to do.
Well, John Fry's put here, was the lights a protest or what were the torches? I just don't think they put 50p in the meter and they didn't have any floodlights. That's the only thing I can think of as to why.
It's definitely on the floodlights.
Oh, the floodlights are on. Well, then there we go. There's no reason for this, is there? Connor's just reminded me of a cricket atmosphere. Sorry, Gareth. How's that?
That's not particularly great because the cricket atmosphere, I've usually been drinking all day, so the atmosphere is fantastic because I'm drunk and having banter with the Australians, so it's fantastic. So I don't know what Connor's on about. Maybe he should come. The Ashes are this year. Let's get tickets to a day 5 and let's watch England hopefully absolutely batter them. I wasn't there, so I don't really know too much, but I'm very much of the opinion that I've been to other sporting events where there has been the smoke and the fireworks and the fire, and that's quite exciting. Like when I've been to NFL games at London, and they're running out from the tunnel individually, the names all being read out. Like at quarterback, you've got number 12 Tom Brady, and he runs out through the tunnel, through the smoke, and there's flames and fireworks are going off, and it gets me going for the game. The bands and stuff I can very, very much take or leave. I'm not particularly bothered. I'm just so used to there just being one person banging a drum at Oldham Athletic who does a fantastic job at kind of keeping everybody in time, because that is one thing that drives me insane is when you've got two different blocks singing the same song and there are a couple of words out and you're sat in the middle. I'm like, what is going on? So if there's a drum there to keep people in time, brilliant. If there's a full-on band, less so. Light shows, I think before the game, absolutely fine. I think you're having them at halftime and stuff as well, then I'm kind of less, let's just go and get a beer and flick through the program at halftime and then come back and watch the second half. Before the game, fine, crack on, you go ahead. With phone torches, it's not for me, but I'm also very much of the opinion of, let people enjoy what they enjoy, and if it's primarily children that are kind of waving phone torches and stuff around, that's brilliant. If it's if friend of the show Anthony is there with his phone torch waving it around, then I'll be a bit like, come on, Anthony, pal, you're a fully grown man, like put your phone away. So I think it's very much let people enjoy what they want to enjoy, but it's not for me. Unless it's Mexican waves, because I think they're sent by the devil, because they're the worst thing ever. I hate them so much. I despise them. Like, I just want to watch football. I don't want people jumping in front of me and nearly knocking whatever drink is in my hand out of my hand. I don't want people booing me when I stay in my seat because I'm not standing up to partake in this Mexican wave. And then they stand up in front of me and block what I'm trying to see in front of me. So Mexican waves, absolutely not. No way.
See, now I know you don't like them, But when Stevenage were in the first ever competitive final at the new Wembley Stadium, they were losing 2-1 with just under about a minute or two to go until full time. And the Carlisle fans, it wasn't the Carlisle fans, sorry, but the fans, opposition, were all doing the Mexican wave. When it got round to the Stevenage end, everyone was like, no. And they did exactly what you just said. They booed the Stevenage fans. Now, Stevenage equalised and then scored the winner in injury time. And what did the Stevenage fans do? They started doing the Mexican wave, and it was the opposition fans that wouldn't do it. So we were booing them. So it does have the opportunity for banter. And girls, this is why I want to throw this over to you. Is this a case of football being too snobbish? Is it a case of we're sitting there and going, we must implement how we deem a football match should be enjoyed? Is there room, do you think, for all this stuff? Mexican waves, bands, light shows, all of that sort of stuff. And is that a case of that the ordinary idea needs to change of a football match and what it consists of because of the fact there are different people? For example, Tony says the atmosphere was okay. There were a lot of young fans that's new to the game. What do you think? Is it a case of that, or is it a case of these are people that are trying to appeal to people that are not necessarily goers at the men's game, for example, where this sort of thing just does not really even get off the ground? What's your thoughts?
I feel like it's mainly at the stadiums. Like when we play at the men's stadiums, that's when you see all the Mexican waves, the light shows, the torches. I feel like that's when like people bring. It's a family day out, isn't it? They take the kids to go visit Old Trafford, and you wouldn't see it at Leigh Sports Village, but I feel like that's because that's the fans who go to watch United week in, week out. Whereas when you do a game at Old Trafford, there is people there that have probably never been to a football match before. It is more of a family event. I personally prefer them at Leigh Sports Village, but I mean, it's not doing any harm. Like, don't get me wrong, I did make a comment about feeling like I was at a One Direction concert when all the torches come out, but it's just one of them, like, I wouldn't join in with it, but I'm not going to shout abuse at someone if they are doing a Mexican wave or putting lights up.
I mean, it kind of reminds me, I don't really want to veer too much off topic here, but there was a conversation going on recently about if you go to a musical or something like that. And apparently now, at the beginning of the Mamma Mia musical, they actually put out a statement saying, please don't sing along to the music. Because there are grumpy people who are like, I didn't come here to listen to you sing Mamma Mia. I want to hear the people on the stage singing Mamma Mia. Shut your face, little person.
I can vouch for that because I got told off when I went for singing.
I went last year. What they say is it's not just simple, don't sing along because we're grumpy and miserable. What they say is there will be a song at the end where everybody can sing along. So whilst the performers are performing, let them perform. And then at the end, there'll be a sing-along, get up, sing, dance in the aisles, do whatever you want at the very end of the show. That's kind of what happens. It was crazy. I was there like last year with loads of kids from work, and some of them were trying to sing and everything. And I was just like, oh, no, like you're going to get me told off as the responsible adult.
Yeah, I got told that I was a distraction, so I'll vouch for it. You can't sing.
But there you go. So he was miming the words or miming them, whichever one you're choosing to do there, John. You go for it. And at the end, I was rocking out the hits. Now, I get that. But like, this is going to be the problem if you start doing shows that are proper banging songs that people sing along to. That, you know, you start going to things like Blood Brothers. Nobody really knows. Tell me it's not true. So they're not all singing along with it. You start sticking on SOS or Super Trooper, all of a sudden everybody's a dancing queen. Anyway, I didn't want to move too far. Grace, this is the question that I wanted to throw to you. That nothing pleases me more than seeing people have fun. If they want to do it. Would you go along with that? Or do you feel it's a case of they're trying to force the fun onto people and tell them what fun looks like?
I think it's a mix of both. You know, I think the brass band is almost very international. Like, you know, you see it at England games, both men and women's, and I think that's a little bit. I don't know. I don't think there's, in my opinion, I don't really enjoy that in there. I know I went to the Aston Villa one at Old Trafford, and I think that the brass band was not off-putting, but I think it just, I don't know. It takes away the focus off the pitch a little bit at times, and I think maybe, I mean, the whole Mexican wave, as much as I don't like it, I think for younger fans now, I think they enjoy it quite a bit. So I'm with that in that sense of if people want to do it, then do it. But yeah, I'm not too keen on the brass band overall.
Okay, so we're going to take a vote. So Mexican waves, keep or go. So it's either keep or go. Alex, Mexican waves.
Go.
Andrew,
Go.
Gareth,
Go.
Grace.
Go.
Oh, I quite like the Mexican wave. Okay, bands playing funny songs and pretending that that's like music. Alex,
Go.
Andrew,
Go.
Gareth,
Go.
Grace.
Go.
See, I kind of know where this is going. People holding up mobile phones with lights as if Bray Wyatt's just walked out. Alex,
Go.
Andrew.
Go.
I mean, that's a stunning reference. Stay. I don't mind them. I think let people enjoy it to enjoy. Unless it's like fully grown men doing it, and then that can go. Just let people enjoy it. We'll enjoy. I think.
Fair play. And Grace,
Go.
go as well. Was there anything else that we didn't like there? I think that was it.
Light shows?
Oh, light shows, yeah, and the smoky stuff and all that stuff, miniature explosions. Alex, keep or go?
I'll keep them. I'm usually getting a beer at that point, so.
Okay. Andrew?
I'll say keep.
You're going to keep those ones. Gareth?
Keep as well.
Keep a bit of that. And Grace?
Yeah, I'd keep them as well.
Right, yeah, well, there we go. Interestingly enough, because they did it in one of the Champions League matches, what about a halftime show? Is that the sort of thing you'd keep or go, Alex?
Keep.
You'd have that. So you'd quite enjoy it if, I don't know, Ed Sheeran or Rihanna just popped up all of a sudden and just stood still.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. It's not affecting the game. It's not taking my attention away from what's going on.
Okay. Andrew?
Go.
Don't want none of that. Okay. No. Get in the bin. I'll put you on in the car on the way home. Fair enough. Gazza?
For me, that very, very much depends on who it is. I was at a rugby league game at LSV the other week. It was Lee Leopards against St Helens, and they had Tapau as a pre-game and halftime performance. And I was just like, I have no idea who these people are, so I've got zero interest in it. It was dead loud, and I could barely even hear my mate that was sat next to me. So if Rihanna's rocking up, then yeah, by all means, crack on. But if it's some synth band or whatever from the 80s, they can stay where they are.
Fair enough. Fair points all around. So there we go. Grace, I don't think I asked you. What would you do with that?
Go. It's very Super Bowl-esque, and I don't think that's really for football.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would get rid of most of it because, let's be honest, I think really what anybody wants to do is go to the football and sing and support their team, and that's really all we should be doing. But by all means, have clowns and things like that for the kids when they're outside, little balls they can kick into goals, do all that sort of stuff. That's grand. Maybe we'll one of those at half time and get them to see if they can score a goal from distance. And if they can, sign them up. That would be a good idea. Right, we're nearly done, guys. One last question. It's a quite quick one, really, and it's just about the Lionesses selection because there was 4 people, I believe, I'm going to look through this, that have been called up. Obviously, Mary Earps, England's number 1, has been called up. May Letitia in the defence, but nobody else from United there. In the midfield, Ella Toone has made it, but again, nobody else. And of course, up front, Alessia Russo. So we've got a representative in each of the 4 departments. Is there anybody there who you think has missed out from the United team who should have been chosen? Because we had this argument before. Hannah Blundell maybe has done really well at left back. Katie Zellum keeps missing out, even though she's been quite consistent. Nikita Paris obviously not making it in. So is Serena seeing something that Marc Skinner's not? I don't know. Alex, anything that stood out for you about the Lionesses being announced?
Not really. The only thing that shocked me was that Millie Bright got the call up because obviously we know that she's injured. But Apart from other people being called up, I wouldn't have really said. Maybe Katie Zellum, but at the same time, you've got a very strong midfield for the Lionesses that it's very competitive. So I don't really disagree with much of it. There's people that I'd like to see, like Hannah Blundell. I'd like to see her get a call up, but it's not really affected me.
Fair point. Andrew, going to ask you, but we do have to point this one out because I can imagine it. Imagine being 4-0 down at half time. Ed Sheeran comes on, no thanks. But just imagine if everybody's sitting there going, why has he played that formation? It's absolutely outrageous. And then Ed Sheeran, kicks off with, I'm in love with the shape of you. And it's like, well, actually, no, we don't want that one. We need to go 4-1-4-1, like Joseph said. So there. Andrew, Lionesses, what do you reckon?
I was thinking, surprised that Katie Zellum didn't get in. I'm just thinking she's been very consistent for United this season, especially, with their set pieces as well. And I think from Serena, the squad she's picked, I just think it's a good indication for both Zellum and Paris as well. They're going to have to work hard for United in the last few games of the season to prove themselves to the England coach. Maybe Serena just wants to see a bit more out of them. I don't know, going into the World Cup. So hopefully Zellum and Paris make the World Cup squad alongside those players that made the squad for these games as well. But I say, it just felt a bit bad for Zellum, but we'll see come the end of the season whether she makes the World Cup or not.
Put Highline predictions. It is a prediction, also productions, saying he's gutted for Zellum. Reading between the lines of Serena's comments and her pressure, she's all but confirmed she won't be going to the World Cup. She prefers midfielders that play all of the positions. Gareth, I'd like your points on the Lionesses, but also this one, because Connor's gone no one from United, I don't think, so he doesn't think there's anybody else who should have been called up. However, Beth England is the obvious one. Okay. But also Maz Pacheco. I need to ask you on this because you've not been on for a while. Does this get you, Maz Pacheco? Do you buy into this hype that Connor and Lansell have been trying to beat up now for the last couple of months that I'm not hearing and seeing anywhere at all?
I think she's a good player. And I think she's probably worthy of a call-up in the friendlies in the same way that Ebony Salmon has been recently, and the way that, Zellum has been recently and stuff as well, and kind of use her in qualifying games. I think in terms of World Cup prep, I think if it was me, I would want players that I know really well, that I trust really well. And I suspect that's why Hannah Blundell's not been picked. Because I suspect they'll be looking at people like Alex Greenwood, who can play left back, can play centre half as well. So, I think Beth England is the standout one for me in terms of I'm not really sure what more she needs to do to prove herself that she's ready to get back in that squad. She's the second top goal scorer. She's scoring goals for Spurs. She took the step away from Chelsea to go to Spurs to score goals to get seen, and it hasn't quite paid off for her. So I'm hoping that she has a kind of a good back end of the season, seeing as we don't have to play her again, because I think she's definitely worthy of selection. But there's no real shocks, I don't think. I just think we'll see a World Cup squad that Serena knows and that Serena trusts.
Fair enough.
Sorry, in fact, just one more thing. Steph Horton's not been picked as well. So former England captain still not kind of back in the squad. I don't know if what the reason for that is. I don't know how much he's really been playing for City, but it is interesting to see that Steph has still not got back in that squad since her injury kind of this time last year.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Bob, you've put, not sure if Zellum is a 6 or an 8, but Serena doesn't see her as either. I see her as a 10, which is why I choose her in every single team, because she is 10 out of 10 for me. She's absolutely amazing. I can't believe she just gets looked over all the time. But there we go. And yes, TJ, the different defender was Lucy Parker, I believe, which has bamboozled some. I'm ambivalent about the whole thing, if I'm brutally honest with you. Grace, I mean, Ellie here, Ellie does like to do this every now and again. She just reaches into the back of our minds and throws out a player who hasn't played for like ages. Lucy Stanton, would you be putting Lucy Stanton fourth anywhere near the England side, Grace?
I'd put Zellerman over ahead of her. I mean, Lucy Stan has been doing quite well since her move to Villa. I was at the Villa game at the weekend, and I thought she played quite well. But I do think it's just, again, there's people ahead of her. I was shocked at Zellerman not getting in, and there being 4 keepers, especially with the midfield is a little bit light, I think, because I don't see any reason for 4 keepers, especially. But yeah, I would like to have seen Millie Turner as well, maybe, because there was a few rumours about Millie Bright, whether she would be fit enough. Yeah, Hannah Blondell as well. Now that Daly's been moved up to a forward, she's finally been named as a forward in that squad. I think Blondell would do well. Got the experience as well. But yeah, I would like to have seen Millie Turner maybe as well. But yeah, I definitely thought Zellen would have been in that squad, considering how light that midfield is.
Connor's apologised to me, says the first time for everything. You're forgiven, Connor, and that's literally all I'm going to say about that. So there you go. You can debate me afterwards. Well, there we go. I think we've kind of hit everything that we need to hit today. So thank you very much, panel, once again. It's been a cracker. That's pretty much all the time we've got. I don't know how we keep doing this. We keep going over the hour, but that's because you guys are so bleeding good at doing what you need to do as contributors. So thank you so much, guys, in the comments. Been absolutely amazing. You kept the show going. You made it really hard for me as well, and I love that. I love it when you make my job hard and I have to keep looking through to see what you've written. So well done, you lot. Alex, thank you very much for joining us again. Much appreciated. Some excellent points. Grace as well.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, Grace, for taking time out of your schedule to come and see us as well. Gaza, I hope all goes well for FC United and you get your big win over Gary Neville's. Yeah, amazing.
Me too.
Andrew, I hope all goes well with you and that you keep enjoying watching Stourbridge presumably storm the WNL as they appear to be doing. You've all been fantastic. What's going on? I don't know. Tomorrow is Thursday. It was meant to be a show tomorrow, but Connor's moved it because he's got that prerogative. So it will be a women's channel and men's channel on Friday. So there will be a preview of the Brighton game. That is happening first. And then Stu Woody will be on the men's channel and he will be taking you through Newcastle. And I think Connor and I have both been asked to go on that as well. So we'll be there as well on Friday. So feel free to join us for a feast of footballing fun on Friday, all on All For United. Meanwhile, of course, we've got the games at the weekend, which should be fabulous. So thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you all again. What's Mark Skinner going to do? I don't know. But whatever it is, it's going to have nothing to do with us. Probably wasted an hour, didn't we? But it was good fun. See you next time.